Wide Web. I'm Shado. The internet personality without much summer left. Or sanity, it seems. But, yeah, welcome to week... to movie... whatever. Of...
The Summer of Freddy vs. Jason!
Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. Yes, this is another so-called final movie that is about as final as Final Fantasy, but there's some more dreadful things to note here. After Jason Takes Manhattan did so poorly, taking in $15 million on a budget of $5 million, Paramount decided that it was time to dump the franchise to the highest bidder. That turned out to be New Line Cinema, aka the house that Freddy built. Meaning while the crossover film was now more likely than ever, Jason Voorhees was in the hands of a company with no history with the franchise. It's not all bad, though, as they figured the first thing they should do is release a new entry in the series with some of the most respected faces ever to grace Friday the 13th, Kane Hodder and Sean S. Cunningham. You remember Sean, right? Writer and director of the original Friday the 13th. Gonna be like bringing Wes Craven back in New Nightmare, right? Well, no. Evidently, Sean never bothered watching any of the Friday the 13th movies past the second, gave the director's seat and writer's chair to Adam Marcus, who never wrote or directed anything before this movie, and still seemed to hold disdain towards the franchise for focusing on Jason as a killer, a concept he found almost as stupid as that damn hockey mask. Well then. Let's take a motherfucking look at Jason Goes to Hell the Final Friday and see what the fuck they did with it. I suppose it starts out promising enough. On a dark and spooky night near Crystal Lake, we see a lone woman, Elizabeth Marcus, played by Julie Michaels, enter a run-down cabin in desperate need of repair. She works to fix the place up for the night, but there's still an air of tension and the feeling that there's someone nearby watching her. But if it is Jason, it seems he's gotten bored with the whole drag you out and dismember you style of horror and moved on to just fucking with people. She doesn't let this bother her, though. She's going for a nice, relaxing night alone on Crystal Lake, which calls for some naked time and a warm bath. Her toe touched the water! She was naked! That counts as skinny dipping! It's on, bitch! She quickly covers up in a towel to investigate the source of the blackout and orchestral cue, which, to nobody's surprise... is Jason Voorhees, who's just here. And supposedly there was a tie-in comic that did explain how the hell Jason got here after being left in a New York sewer post-toxic waste baptism, but in the movie, it just goes completely unexplained. And hell, at least in the previous entries in the franchise, they at least took the time to remind everyone where the hell Jason came from. As Jason has a big fucking machete and Elizabeth has a fluffy towel, she runs for her life. After a short sprint through the woods, she suddenly stops and waits for Jason to catch up. And it's time to play ball! Batting for the Jersey Devils, it's the man with a killer swing, Jason Voorhees! Wow. Sports become a hell of a lot more competitive than I remember. Despite the heavily armed men shooting the machete almost as often as Jason himself, they nevertheless manage to riddle him with bullets, until someone decides to just blow the fucker up. Well, that was Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. My thoughts?
I don't think so.
Damn it, Creighton! I've seen this movie once. Isn't that enough? As it turns out, this was a government agency working to take down the threat of Jason Voorhees along with Agent Elizabeth Marcus. Nothing left to do but clean up the body parts, including the ominous heart, and give the booming opening credits sequence spliced into the autopsy scene introducing Richard Gant as the coroner. It's starring the fuck out of John D. LeMay!
Anyone listening must have C4 clearance or higher. If not, you're in a heap of trouble.
Well, wait a minute. Did they speed up the sound effect, or is the cameraman jerking off?
Jesus!
Okay, we get it. Credits or autopsy sequence. Pick one and stick with it, movie.
The subject is a victim of multiple bullet wounds. It's going to be a real joy to count.
Oh, jeez, it's taking so long. Even the autopsy scene is getting boring. Moving on to the important part of the examination, the heart is quite puzzling. It's twice the size of a normal human heart, filled with weird nut blood, and still beating. But most importantly of all... it's downright tasty. This has the adverse effect of turning the coroner into Jason. Or at the very least, Jason is now possessing the poor guy. It's too bad he spoiled his appetite with Voorhees' heart already, because his assistant, played by Dean LeRae, has just arrived with takeout.
Yes, that's a probe.
I had a feeling this was going to end badly as soon as I heard the word probe. Despite being covered in blood from the mouth down, even the security guards, played by Tony Ivarolina and Kane Hodder, don't think anything of this, so they just get fucking killed, as we suddenly switch over to a news broadcast, American Case File, starring Robert Campbell, played by Stephen Culp. It seems in between movies, Jason went from being a spooky summer camp ghost story to a household name nationwide serial killer, and even his more supernatural aspects are well known, as explained by Creighton Duke, played by Stephen Williams.
What you think of as Jason is not Jason. That body he's wearing, that's just me.
And he knows this the fuck how. Wait a minute. Yeah, there were 8 movies of events before this, and Jason was just on Arsenio also. I guess it does make sense when you think about it. Duke here knows that Jason can't die from explosions, but only a very specific, convoluted ritual, which he is keeping secret to the tune of $500,000. Thus, we move away from the dark flavor inching far too close to the found footage genre for my tastes, over to a diner where Diana Kimball, played by Erin Gray, gives our first hints of what the secret method is by running right into Creighton Duke.
I'm gonna kill Jason Voorhees. I need you to help me.
Jason Voorhees is dead.
No, Freddy's dead. Jason goes to hell. I mean, they were both made under New Line Cinema, so I get how it can be confusing, but you'll figure it out eventually. Seeing as this guy showed up out of nowhere with no backstory and started demanding things of the rest of the characters, Sheriff Landis, played by Billy Green Bush, tries to intervene.
Why don't you blow me, Chief? Right after your girlfriend there gets through.
And thus begins a manly contest of manliness. Which, somehow I feel like the sheriff is going to draw the short straw on. Or not, as he just resorts to having one of his underlings drag the bounty hunter off, saving his masculinity for another day. This encounter did get Diana a bit concerned, however, so she confides with Stephen, played by John D. LeMay, that there's something he absolutely must know about her and her daughter. Later.
Come to my house tonight at 11, and don't be late.
Something of dire importance with utmost need for punctuality where you cannot afford to be distracted for a second? Insert random camper scene. Stephen decides, fuck listening to Diana, let's pick up 3 hitchhikers, Deborah, Luke, and Alexis, played by Michelle Clooney, Michael B. Silver, and Catherine Atwood, respectively. They're on their way to Camp Crystal Lake now that Jason is surely dead, so they can go skinny dipping and have teen sex without having to worry about hulking monster men tearing their friends into pieces. Despite the invitation to get laid, Steve turns it down to get back to the plot where he belongs. We, however, stick around the abandoned campsite to watch the teens enjoying nature. It's about the fastest pee I think I've ever seen. And not that I make a habit of watching women pee. Look, Jason! Okay, now we can get back to being scared and shocked at slasher villains killing people and forget that anyone ever brought up peeing. Okay, that can't be accidental. Jason, you want to get me out of this one? Thanks, buddy. Moving on. Steve didn't waste time, though. Don't worry, Dinah hasn't even left the diner yet. She's just closing up.
Hi! Me! Josh! I was just going to my car. I didn't mean to scare you.
I frequently sneak behind women in the middle of the night and put my hands on them. That's okay, isn't it? I mean, I haven't been doing it wrong this whole time, have I? This is Josh, played by Andrew Block. He's just here to reassure Diana that her relationship things are going to be alright before his relationship thing, Edna, played by Diana Georgia, shows up and Jason teleports his ass all the way there from the camp to kill her, kidnap him, and... turn this movie into a really weird fetish film. Oddly, I don't think I can blame Creepy for this one. With that's done, Diana receives a call from her daughter, Jessica, played by Carrie Keegan. Seems Jessica has a new boyfriend, Robert, from the TV. Unfortunately, their conversation is soon cut short.
Mom? What are you doing? Josh! Oh, Jesus.
Okay, before I thought Jason in the mirror was just a cinematic touch, but if others can actually see that, there's the whole supernatural aspect where the mirror is a reflection of the soul, which is why vampires don't show up in mirrors, so in that angle, I guess it would make sense that Jason shows up as Jason no matter whose body he's in, but, You're trying to explain supernatural reflection scientifically? Creepy would not approve. You say that like I care about the approval of a man who spends his time having conversations with plush dolls. Pot? Meet kettle! Fortunately, Diana doesn't take this lying down and shoots Jason in the fucking head. Of course, this is Jason we're talking about, and even when he's got the body on loan, it's hard for him to go down. Have no fear, Steven is here and ready to fight the possessed policeman and save the day. Using the woman you're trying to save as a human shield, though, not the best strategy. Taking a page from Jason's playbook, Steve impales him with a fireplace poker, and the man ends up going out of a window. Unfortunately for Steven, though, not only is Diana dying too fast to tell him much outside of save Jessica, but after she dies, Ed shows up, Josh is long gone, and Steve is standing there covered in blood swearing it wasn't him, but the zombie that did this. Thus it's off to the pokey with him, where his policeman friend, Randy Parker, played by Kip Marcus, locks him up.
You about the saddest looking sack of shit I've ever seen.
And who would just so happen to be in the cell directly adjacent to him, but Creighton Duke. As the walking exposition dump for this movie, Duke pulls out of his ass the last few events as well. Hell, if he knows how to kill Jason with no explanation, obviously he knows what's been going on in town while he's been locked up just because. He could help Steven, but as we established, information has a cost.
And the cost of this is very, very high. Are you ready to pay?
You accept PayPal? Oh, fuck! I'll take that as a no. Duke's anally sourced information essentially consists of Jessica being the only one who can kill Jason, but also being one of the only ones whom he could fully resurrect into completely. It turns out Diana was Jason's sister, so he's got a body hop until either getting back into the body of one of the Voorhees bloodline, or his heart is destroyed by a Voorhees. Now that he knows, Steven uses the old injured prisoner routine, never mind that he's actually injured, to escape so that he can rescue Jessica. Later, first he's got to stop by the back room of the diner in the horribly designed daycare center Jessica's highly overpaid babysitter built for Jessica's baby. The daughter Steven didn't even know he had.
I don't even know your name.
Steven.
Yeah, it's not my first choice for a daughter. I know that's what you want, more power to you, but, I mean, you ever think of maybe Taylor? Alex? This is Ward, played by Adam Cranner. Despite hearing Steven's an escaped felon who is suspected for murdering Diana, he doesn't believe that, and even gives the man his keys to escape with Ward's car. Steven decides the best place to uncover more plot is the Voorhees residence, which, while a little run down, is still in relatively good shape and full of terror. No, not ironing! Anything but ironing! Is that? I'm gonna need another beer. Before I have much time to point out that yes, this is the same exact Necronomicon from The Evil Dead, someone shows up, and Stephen must hide. It turns out to be Jessica's new boyfriend, Robert Campbell, who is working on a new episode of American Case File, set here in the Voorhees residence. When the nation demands shock and horror and you can't find any, why not just manufacture some?
I stole Diana's body, and I hid it here in the closet. And then I went home and fucked her daughter.
My God. It's almost as if the movie is trying to make him out to be a bad guy. In true slasher movie tradition, this means he is more than ready to be fucking murdered in the most hard way possible, having the Josh zombie pin him down and force the Jason tongue down his throat. Yet for some reason this time it doesn't involve a weird S&M shaving scene. I'm disappointed. And then Josh melts. No idea why, considering he was impaled and shot in the fucking head. I'm surprised he's still kicking this long post-transferal. But the point is now Robert is a man possessed, heading out towards Jessica. Oh yeah, and they cut the power. I know they just showed that, but I should probably mention it, because if you blink, you miss it. While investigating the blackout, in a shirt with a blood stain on it from God knows where, she runs into Robert, who she can't understand at all, as all he does is growl and grab at her. Have no fear, Jessica. Stephen is here to save the day, utilizing the power of kidnapping and vehicular manslaughter. He fights off the possessed boyfriend and drives her to safety. Problem is, she isn't buying his story for a second.
Fucking psycho, you killed her, Mom! You think I'd let you near my baby? Ow! Wait for me!
Even though Stephen is technically right, and we as the audience realize that, her reaction wasn't too outlandish. I mean, hell, I was half expecting her to put the car in reverse and run his ass over. Instead, she just rushes to the police station and tells them that that psycho ex who murdered her mother and escaped from jail just murdered her new boyfriend, and he's on the road right now. Thus, they send out a unit to pick him up.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Oh, Randy.
And thus the confrontation quickly devolves into a couple of grown-ass 12-year-olds trying to hammer out the pecking order. To be honest, I actually really like watching these two characters interact. They got this friendly sort of rivalry and seem to understand that even when things are very serious.
I got a gun! Fuck that. I got a gun.
You know, this is just an allegory for the things they've already done in the locker rooms. It doesn't change the fact that there's still a killer on the loose, and hearing that Jessica is back at the station, Stephen immediately turns himself in. Just in time, too, as Jason Robert shows up and makes short work of the officers on his way to take the woman for himself. I mean, yeah, half the fingers on his left hand were broken. He's holding the gun perfectly fine now while shooting it, but remember, he's shooting it. Once you start doing that, it just takes 10 seconds of not being hit to recover all your health. Being almost killed twice by Robert is enough to get Jessica on Stephen's side at least, and they rush off, while Jason Robert recovers, kills more officers, and sends one fleeing for his life. And that explains how Creighton Duke also manages to escape from prison, because every cop has cell keys wrapped around their waist, no exceptions. While Stephen and Jessica reach the diner without much difficulty, Joey B, played by Rusty Schwimmer, pulls a gun on them, refusing to let them anywhere near the baby. This delays them long enough that Jason manages to teleport over there, killing the fuck out of Ward, and sending the diner into chaos. This would be a hell of a badass scene if it weren't for the fact that it's been well established before now that bullets don't do jack shit against Jason. While Jason works on killing everyone in his path, Jessica and Stephen make it to the produce crib only to find out that the baby isn't there. After Jason finally manages to kill absolutely everyone in the building other than these two, he suffers another one of those convenient plot-related comas, just long enough for Jessica to rush off on her own, leaving Stephen behind in the diner with nothing to console him but a note.
I have your baby. Come to the Voorhees house alone.
well, maybe only a Voorhees can kill a Voorhees, but at least Steven can do it like a Voorhees. When Jessica reaches the Voorhees' house, which, all things considered, I'm still very surprised was never looted or destroyed, she finds Duke there with the baby. He doesn't put up much of a fight over the kid, asking only for her to hear out the plan. Jason must be destroyed, and it can only come about by a member of the Voorhees bloodline destroying his heart. The very specific Voorhees bloodline, as cousins don't count, I guess.
You don't need me for that.
Yes, I do.
Also the dagger. That dagger is very important. Have to stab him in the heart with that dagger. That's a very convenient fact that he happened to have the dagger the whole time. Also, it explains why at the police station she couldn't just shoot his ass when she was right there and had a gun. Too bad it doesn't fucking explain anything else.
Jason will have jumped into a new body by now. You can't trust anyone.
It couldn't be Steve.
Anyone. Do you understand?
Oh god, the movie's plot holes are getting so bad they're evolving into real holes. Before she can dig him out of this predicament, Sheriff Landis shows up, who Jessica could have sworn was dead. Then Officer Randy, and we have a who's the real man and who's Jason bit, which is made all the harder by the fact that they both talk. And she chose poorly. As did the writer. Seriously, having Jason talk? You couldn't think of a way to do this scene without having Jason talk. Let me think. Have both of the officers suffer neck injuries and neither of them be able to talk? Oh, look at that! Speaking of neck injuries... Steven rushes in with a machete to save the day. Except he's not a Voorhees. And that wasn't the heart. Or the special dagger. But then again, next thing you know, they're going to tell us you gotta do it on Friday the 13th during a full moon and a leap year. As Jason's not dead, he instead crawls out of Randy's corpse. Yes, that's Jason. A demon rat thing. It attacks the various folks here, but they fight it off easily enough. However, when they finally get Duke out of the basement, it remains behind.
That part about being reborn through a Voorhees woman doesn't have to be a living woman. Duke, that thing's in the basement with Jessica's mother.
Wait. He could resurrect fully through dead bodies the whole time. Okay, then why the fuck didn't he stick around Diana's corpse when he first fucking killed her? Or maybe later, when he came by and overheard Robert saying Diana's corpse was in the house, why didn't he fucking stay in the house after he fucking took Robert? Well, fuck, at this point, how in the hell did the explosion kill him in the first place? So, possessing a Voorhees woman also grants you a sex change and a full wardrobe with wear and tear for extra authenticity. But remember, they dropped the dagger and are kinda screwed without it.
Son of a bitch. You remember me?
Now that scene was deleted. Sorry, Duke. But he does get to sacrifice himself to aid these two in defeating Jason, a cause we will never fully understand as his backstory wasn't worth showing. Ah well, Jason has more than enough time to kill Steven a few dozen times over, but it seems he's more into savoring his victims at this point, tossing him around and dragging him left and right instead of just ripping him limb from limb. Too bad this just gives Jessica enough time to get the dagger and finish him off. Good, at least I have a better idea where the hell a heart is in this movie. Also, nice work, Jessica. Bashing through the ribcage at that angle ain't easy. This results in flailing fireworks and floppy-fingered forearms feeling about, pulling Jason into hell. And anyone else that can get their grubby mitts on. After spending a while thinking about it, Jessica figures, yeah, maybe worth saving Steven's life, and thus, happy ending! With the light show ending, they survive until morning easily, walking into the sunrise, knowing their future is happy and bright now that Jason is finally dead. Some say this is a bit anachronistic because Freddy's Dead established that Freddy died in the year 2000. This movie came out in 1993! Ignoring, of course, the fact that the Friday the 13th timeline was well into the early 2000s by now. But Fuck it. Anyway, that was Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. And, it's gonna need another beer. Whew, man, what to say. Well, I guess the first thing I'll do is defend the movie. Yes, the fact that it's a Friday the 13th movie with next to no Jason is a big letdown. Even more so when the story very heavily revolves around Jason, and it's only got Jason in spirit, with a hulking hockey mask wearing motherfucker relegated to very little of the running time. However, the idea of Jason being so unkillable that even annihilating his physical form can't truly destroy him is interesting. It also means there's an obvious way a sequel could work after Jason's body is completely disintegrated by toxic waste in the New York sewer, but I digress. My main issue with this movie is, like Freddy's Dead, it disregards the backstory of just about every previous installment, and then throws together a bunch of new shiny lore that it can't even fit within the movie's running time. Creighton Duke wasn't a bad character, and was enjoyable to watch, but good luck figuring out where the hell he came from, or what his motivations are, without consulting the all-wise Lord Google. I feel that way about a lot of the characters, actually. They were interesting enough, and a step up from what we've had to deal with for several installments of Friday the 13th, but any history they have with each other is relegated to maybe a sentence if you're lucky. The movie itself, while it didn't feel like a Friday the 13th movie per se, it was a supernatural horror, but instead of there being rules that you have to figure out or are slowly revealed over time, it felt more like the writers were just making shit up as they went and didn't think about how it affected earlier scenes. At the end of the day, Jason Goes to Hell The Final Friday is a decent enough supernatural flick with horror elements, but not only does it take the Friday the 13th franchise in a direction absolutely nobody wanted, its own rules aren't very well thought out, and many important parts are left unexplained, coming in at 2 sensual late-night candlelit shaving sessions out of 5. On the plus side, the introduction of the Necronomicon did explain well enough how the hell Jason was alive despite being dead, and then killed, and then alive, and all that shit. And it also makes Jason versus Freddy versus Ash a hell of a lot more understandable. But, thank you all for watching. I've been Shado. And remember, our 2-for-1 resurrection deal comes with a free sex change!
In my professional opinion, this guy's deader than shit.